Welcome to Permission to Leap, a podcast exploring the stories of people who have brought their visions to life. Each week, I will speak to an inspiring guest and navigate the process they took to take the leap in their own lives, from the day that they first committed to the day that they landed on the other side of their leap. Permission to Leap is the spark that will push you to believe in your dreams again and make them your reality. Today's guest is Joanna Turner. Originally from Scotland and now a digital nomad, Joanna is a Flow Alchemist and leading spiritual success mentor, advanced EFT and Master NLP Practitioner. She is a mentor to female entrepreneurs and specializes in busting money and visibility blocks and helping others to awaken their infinite possibility. She acts as a bridge between the spiritual and business worlds, combining her strong business acumen gained from 17 years in finance and in boardrooms with the CEOs of multi-billion-dollar companies and setting up offshore startup companies, with her years of personal development and spiritual practice, including being a certified Akashic Records and Shamanic Reiki practitioner. She was recently nominated for the Telstra Businesswoman of the Year Award in the entrepreneurship category. Joanna is also the founder of the Entrepreneur Edge Live, which is an amazing 3-day conference coming up in San Diego. You can find yours truly speaking on stage there. If you are interested in joining us the first weekend in October in San Diego, check out the blog for the link to grab tickets. We would love to see you there. We have a brilliant guest with us today, a friend that I was introduced to about a year ago. In fact, I think it was almost exactly a year ago. We were connected by a mutual friend, and I got to speak at her event, and I'm speaking at her event again in a few weeks. So welcome, Miss Joanna Turner, Flow Alchemist and spiritual success mentor.
Thank you, Bree. I'm so excited to be here.
I love having you because, one, you're awesome and you have brilliant insights, and two, I've always loved your accent. So this is exciting.
I'm always like, what accent? I don't know.
I know, right? I'm the one that has an accent in this equation, right? So funny. So let's talk about, we were just catching up a little bit here before, and you kind of have this view that leaping is like your way of life, right? Like this is kind of the life that you've built for yourself, and you continue to leap after leap after leap. So I want to talk about the first one, like the very first one where you just decided that the way you were living just didn't work anymore. So tell me about that.
So I don't know, I might age myself, but when I was at university and working my first job back in Glasgow in Scotland, there was a time when Sex and the City came out for the first time, and I used to sit and watch it, and I was like obsessed with Sex and the City, and it was just so different from my life and who I was that I couldn't quite accept where I was, and I always had this deeper inner knowing that there was something else and something bigger. And I'd somehow managed to find myself being an accountant, working in my hometown, and living in a little flat and just not living the glamorous life that I was envisioning and imagining, and this bigger thing. And I was also gaining weight. I was at home most nights eating ice cream on the couch and just wondering when my amazing life was going to come and find me on my couch. And I'm very glad I had the little insight or nod that I was like, oh, he's not going to turn up at the door. Like the opportunities aren't going to come and find me in my little flat in Glasgow. I'm going to have to go and find them. And I decided to move overseas. I didn't know at first where I was going. I went to see a recruitment agent, thinking, oh, maybe I'll move in a year, 6 months. And she literally said to me, we have some jobs going in Bermuda. Have you ever thought of that? And I was like, no, never. I think I want to go to Sydney. And within 3 weeks, I'd literally packed up my whole house and moved to Bermuda, which is a tiny island off the coast of the east coast of the US. It's not on the Caribbean, it's just on its own. I couldn't even find it on a map. I'd barely seen a photo of it. This is in the days way before Facebook, BFB. And I just had no idea where I was going. I packed up a couple of suitcases and got on a plane. I didn't know anybody and found myself on this little island and ended up staying there for 6 years. So
that's amazing. So I want to talk a little bit about this deeper knowing, because it's something that like everyone I've interviewed about their leaps talks about it. And I feel like you would be able to articulate more of what that is. Like for someone that's like, I don't think I have a deeper, like, I don't even know what that is. Can you just expand on that a little bit more? Like, how do you know this? It's something you can't see or touch.
For me, it sort of showed up a little bit like an inner restlessness, feeling a little bit different, maybe a little bit of an outsider. The things that other people wanted, I didn't really want, in a sense, where I didn't think they were wrong, and I almost in a way wished I was just like them because my life would be easier. Although I always wanted to have a boyfriend, I had no, I mean, and this doesn't mean that you can't want more and have a family or at all. That's not what I'm saying. But for me, it was, I didn't want a family and kids when I was in my 20s. I'm still not even sure if that's what I want. But I was like, there was just this bigger, wide world that I wanted to explore and I knew was interesting and exciting. And most of my friends, my sister, all live within probably 50 miles of where they grew up, or maybe within 100 kilometers, whatever. And, they're married and they're settled down and have kids, and, they have a big mortgage. They have, their husband's working all hours. They maybe have a corporate job. And, in the first couple of years, they'd sit with, like, just say to me, they're like, don't rush into it. It's okay. You don't have to. So they're like, and one of my friends, she was like, they've bought this beautiful house. It's in the right school district. And she's like, we will never move. We are mortgaged up to the hilt. And I know exactly what my life is going to look like for the rest of my life. And she just was like, I have these 3 kids. We're in the best house we can get in the neighborhood. Her husband works all hours. She's like, we will have a family holiday once a year. And this is my life. And something inside of me went, oh, like, don't make me. I couldn't think of anything worse for myself. And that doesn't mean that anybody that has a house and 3 kids and a husband and who's working hard doesn't want more or is wrong in any way. But just for me, that I knew that wasn't the model that I could live and be okay with it. And it's not I've had to sort of battle it in a sense. Well, not battle it, but it would be easier because I used to have so much guilt about not being close to my family, not being close to, my sister. And I've really had to sort of work on letting me be okay with pursuing this bigger dream and this bigger vision I have for my life and not fitting into the box of conformity that is very much expected of me. And that for me has been one of the biggest challenges of this whole journey is not fitting the box and not doing what I'm supposed to do and not being the perfect version of what everybody expects me to be. And I think and I'm still working on it. Like like I say, I left at 23, but I was an accountant for 17 years, trying to conform and still be in a little box and tick those things. And it wasn't until 3 years ago when I finally quit that job that I really claimed it fully for myself. So it's been a process, and I'm still working, like I'm continually working through the stuff that comes up with it. So it's not like a free card to just go and explore. It comes with a whole lot of other bits, if that even, I don't know if I've quite explained it, but for me, it's deep in my gut, maybe even in my solar plexus, this just sort of like, it's just a sort of energy of, I thought I might articulate it better, but yeah, I suppose it's just this gut feeling like there's something else. There's something bigger. And then coming to terms with it.
Yeah, I love that. And I definitely can relate. And have had the experiences even recently of like, can I please just, I was in New York in June. And while I was there, I was like, can I please just get like a finance job and just live in New York and just not have to like be an entrepreneur? And like, I still go back and forth as well, even though I know I would be miserable. I'd be shutting off like a piece of my soul, you know? So how do you, in those moments when you have those things about like, oh, I want to get back in the box, like how do you kind of navigate through that?
Great question. If I ever hear any of my clients, you know, or anyone in my community who's like, oh, I think I'm going to quit, I'm like, let's just for a second imagine what that would look like. And I'm like, for self-preservation, you'd have to close down everything. You probably have to leave Facebook, unfriend everyone you know who is continuing to go for it. You'd have to close Instagram, because when you're on your commute to go work for the guy that you don't like, you're going to be bombarded with all of these people putting their, you know, dream life and the fact that they're going for it in your face every day. So I was like, you're really going to have to cut yourself off from all the communities you built, to just for self-preservation, and to avoid yourself being completely triggered day in, day out by everybody else's who's continuing to follow that path. And it doesn't mean, you know, entrepreneurship, like we've discovered, it's not the easy path, right? And it's, even one of my clients the other day, she was like, nobody told me it would be this hard. And, you know, sometimes we make it harder than it needs to be, just a little smidge. But I think that looking back, I also take a lot of, even though there's still moments where I'm like, what am I doing? I forget how much I take for granted. Like I'm staying with a girl at the moment and she's gone to work today. I didn't have a commute. I came all the way to my laptop, you know, like it's those things. I drove in traffic the other day. It was maybe 6 p.m. at night, dark. And I was like sat in like traffic for 20 minutes thinking, oh, this is terrible. And then I thought, wow, I used to do this every day. Like people do this every day for hours on end. So we really have so much more freedom, so many more options. And I really think we make it so much harder than it needs to be. I think we, you know, we sort of try and control the fun out of it. We have so much fear that we forget why we started. But I think connecting back to the mission and why you did this in the first place and reminding yourself how lucky you actually are go a long, long way. That answers that.
Awesome. So since you made that leap, you've made multiple other leaps. Have they gotten easier, or do you feel like each leap is just like a little bit bigger and so you still face kind of all the same stuff?
I definitely think they get easier because you build trust in yourself, you build trust in the universe, and you build, I think, the surrender muscle. I also realized, I was sort of looking back at this because I knew it was coming on, and I was like, I've never had a plan B. I think that's one of the things that I've been naturally doing, although I didn't realize I was naturally doing. And I wouldn't say I was a particularly a big risk taker, but I think compared to most people, I probably am, because I rarely have a backup plan. And that's where my faith and trust have to kick in. So I moved from Bermuda. I took a year out and I traveled the world, and then I moved to Australia. And again, I moved there with a couple of suitcases on a temporary visa. I think I moved there on a working holiday visa, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's so hard to live here. It's so hard to stay here." And I was just like, "Is it? Like, really?" And I didn't have a plan B. I was like, I'm moving to Australia. There's no other plan right now. And so things reorganized themselves as they do. And I was able to get a visa, and this poor girl, without my knowledge, lost her job. And I was given this position and given a visa. And as all these things work out, it worked out for the best for her, because she was actually miserable and she got a better job anyway, and everybody was fine. But things just fell into place and happened. And then when I quit my job, I was it was a big scary thing, but I think there was definitely an element of naivety. I hadn't maybe fully thought it through. And I was like, oh, everything will be fine. I've got, I've just discovered the key to the universe. People will be flocking at my door. So I think there was an element of naivety when I quit my job. But again, it didn't feel like it was an option. There was no plan B. And I think some people will quit, but they have this idea in the back of their head that they can go back if they need to. On my leaving party, I remember my boss coming up and being like, well, there's always a desk here for you if you need it. And I just said to him, I said, if I need to come back, you don't want me back. And he was like, I'm trying to think that one through. Like, seriously, you don't want me back in this position.
I had someone say something very similar to me when I was leaving Washington. They were like, oh yeah, if it doesn't work out in LA, you can always move back. And I was like, I would rather die, but thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the sentiment, but no, this will never happen. And then I actually gave up my chartered accountant certification. I had to apply to have it, to let it go. And they were like, I don't know if we're allowed to do this. It's very unusual. And I was like, but I'm deciding to do this. And so for me, that was a huge step in letting that go, because my whole life had worked towards getting that certification. And even a few people were like, why are you doing that? You don't have anything to fall back on then. And I was like, exactly.
Yeah, that's the point.
I don't want it. I will never go back. I will never do that. So yeah, it felt very symbolic for me to let that go, officially. So yeah.
I love that. I'm also a burn the boat person. Like, when I get to that island, I don't want any option to leave it. And if I'm leaving it, it means it's because I've built a new boat to go to a new land or something like that. But there's no going back.
Yeah, absolutely. I was even like, I'm leaving Sydney, and so I've sold or let go or chucked out all of my belongings. So
Aren't
I'm like,
back down to like 2 suitcases again or something?
Yeah. I still have my car. I haven't sold my car yet, but I'm trying to let go of that one too. So it's up for sale if anyone wants. I know, right? So I was like, it's great. So yeah, I'm down to almost nothing, and it's even some of this stuff I have feels heavy at the moment. I'm like, I need to let go of more. So the ideal plan is to get down to 1 suitcase. I don't know if it's possible, but that's the plan.
So what is your next big leap that's coming up?
So my big event was last year, was possibly the biggest thing I've ever tried to pull off. And then it went amazing. And then this year I was like, it's going to be so much easier because I did it last year, and then it hasn't been any easier. In fact, it might have even been a little bit harder this year. So that's my next thing is really, got 3-day event coming up in San Diego. So that feels huge. And then the next one is going the opposite direction. It's going to be committing to being in one place for a while is my next big leap, which feels huge.
Why?
And I had this moment. So I was wondering, I think my big fear is that I will commit to somewhere, take a lease, do something, buy a house, and then this thing inside of me is going to want to leave again. And I was sitting and meditating in my Akashic records, and I was like, what is this thing? What is this restlessness? And they were just saying to me that I'm going through a metamorphosis. I saw like a chrysalis and this like caterpillar like wriggling, trying to get out of its chrysalis. And this just message that they were like, you're going through a transformation. You've had to be on the move to experience this. But when you pop out the other side as your butterfly, you'll be okay to settle down. And I was like, okay. And then I asked for a sign that all of this, like that was true. And I was in Thailand, and I walked downstairs, literally closed my records. 2 minutes later, went to get breakfast. I sat at a table with some friends, and this little girl came up and stood right beside me and just looked at me. And I was like, hi, like, who are you? And she's like, hi, my name's Jasmine. And she's holding this thing that looks like a caterpillar, a centipede thing. And I was like, jumped. I was like, what is that? And she's like, oh, are you scared of it? And I said, yeah, a little bit. And she's like, oh, this is just a caterpillar. He's going to be a beautiful butterfly in a few weeks. There's nothing to be scared of. And I just was like, oh my God, like just looking at this little girl going, thank you for my message, Jasmine. What's your caterpillar's name? And she's like, his name is Tom. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, thanks, universe. Like,
so did you pet Tom and did you hold Tom? Did you and Tom become one?
I just left her with Tom, man. I was like, okay. But I was like, so the universe works through little girls in Thailand now? Like, what? So she's clearly tuned in enough to hear the message. So it was kind of spooky. But yeah, so for me, the next step will be settling somewhere for an extended amount of time.
Awesome. That's exciting. So share with us as well, like, what is your big vision? Like, what is it that you're creating in the world? What is your why?
Ooh, great question. It really is to help women awaken their infinite possibility. I think we dream too small. We don't ask for enough. And we end up living these lives of should and fitting into these boxes. So it's really to help them live a life of more flow and just really awaken to this bigger vision and version for themselves. And yeah, it involves my building up an empire of women, and really there's a healing modality coming, which feels very exciting. And I want that to be the thing that helps change people's lives.
Beautiful. I can't wait. Joanna's done an Akashic record session for me and it was brilliant. So I fully trust that whatever it is that's coming through you is going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's a new way of being and doing things, which is really cool.
Very nice. So for those people that are maybe in the San Diego area or want to come to the San Diego area, the first weekend of October, where I will be speaking at Miss Joanna's event, tell us where we find more information about that.
Yeah, so it's the 5th to the 7th of October, and you can check out TLA Live, TEELA live.com, and it's got all the information there. And this year's theme is all about flow and really starting to experience it, to live it more, and through that, and just got some beautiful inspirational speakers like yourself. We have some amazing sponsors. There's a networking drinks event, which was so much fun last year.
Oh my God, yeah.
And there's some other surprises and different healing things happening as well. So yeah, it's really fun. I'm super excited. And yeah, if you have any questions or want more information, just let me know.
Cool. And where can people find you on the interwebs and otherwise if they're not in San Diego or the vicinity?
Yeah. My website is missionforbalance.com, although we are going through a big rebrand, so it's all changing by the time you hear this. I'm sure it'll be all redirected very smoothly. And on Instagram, Joanna Turner 24.
Awesome.
Which will also be updated.
Oh, really? What's that being updated to?
I will let you know very soon.
Okay. All right. Once we stop, you can tell me. We won't record it. You can just tell me then.
Yeah.
I get to know all the secrets. All right.
Yes,
well, thank you for joining us and for telling us your story of leaping, because it's important. And I really honor the leaps you've taken. And I'm super excited that you are where you are right now and that you're going to be closer to me very soon. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you again for joining me for another fantastic episode of Permission to Leap. If you're looking to take your next big leap, be sure to check out my book that guides you through the 6 phases of the leap process at http://permissiontoleap.today. My book will support you in moving through your leap with more clarity and ease, because there needs to be more people like you living an inspired life and making a positive difference in the world. Much love today and always. I will catch you on the next episode of Permission to Leap.